Hello, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube. I hope everyone's doing well. So, with all the advertising for the new Total War Pharaoh game, I got really interested in playing a two-game campaign. So I went ahead and was playing with Khalida. So I just want to go a little bit over her short victory overview with the High Queen Khalida herself. And yeah, so to get started, let's take a look at her short campaign victory conditions. So the Silver Host, well, all four of these factions are vampire factions. So the Silver Host is a minor one that you'll start in combat with. So they're going to be check marked off your bucket list within the first 4 to 5 turns. The Necroheart Brotherhood and the Sires of Morkin are minor factions that will most likely be wiped off the map sometimes before you even see them. And of course, there's Manny. So Manny in my game got wiped. Sometimes he thrives very well, but more times than not, he does get defeated. So you may or may not need to intervene with Manny. It really depends on RNG, but yeah, so be prepared to fight vampires. And then, of course, occupy, loot, raise, and sack 30 different settlements. So Khalida's faction effects are very good. The diplomatic +10 with all factions is nice, but the research rate is the key here because, of course, the Tomb Kings rely on their research to get more armies. Their armies are free, so they really struggle in the early game having just one army, especially with how Warhammer Total War currently plays in Warhammer 3. The more armies, the better, and yeah, so having that extra boost in research rates really comes in a pinch. The control is okay, the ammo is okay, and as far as her Lord effects go, really it's the enable poison attack that shines out of the three. It makes it really good for her front line to stay alive a little bit longer, and definitely the horse archers, actually the skeleton horse archers early game, they benefit from it. Like you put them into vanguard position against the vampires, and if they release the dogs after you, you can skirmish them, and the poison attacks will reduce their speed by 15%. So as they're trying to get to you, you're reducing their speed, luring them to your other archers, and yeah, it's a very good strategy with the starting army. I mean, the screaming catapult is amazing. The Ushabti with bow is really good. Your hero that you start with, unfortunately, I'm not a big fan of the lore of Nekahara, but magic is magic. He was okay. All heroes can help you get Canoptic Jars. The Lich Priests do have replenishment, which is always welcome. So moving into the map. So here's a screenshot I took of the map using the Fog of War campaign. So you start on the eastern side next to the water, and you start surrounded by legendary lords. So you have to decide really, because you can't make another army until roughly 13 turns in. So, within those 13 turns, who do you want to be your friend? Who do you want to be your enemy? Where do you want to expand? So you have Krokgar to the south of you. Lizardmen are scary. You have the dwarves with Thoric, who, and your armor piercing. Um, uh, Units are limited early game, and you have, of course, Queek Head Taker, which is probably the easiest of the three for your army to deal with up north. So just to show you a little bit about your neighbors. So here's the stats of all of them. Of course, you have the lowest armor between the dwarves, and Thoric himself gives them an extra 10. Thoric's lord effects are amazing, but you do have the poison to help you last around a little bit longer, while your bigger um, your bigger things like the Screampool Catapult can do their work. Khalida can do her work. But yeah, you're like these stats are even showing uh, the difference between a Solaris warrior, a Tomb Guard, a dwarf, and the Nekahar warriors. The Nekahar warriors aren't great; they do die quite easily, but death with like the unit size is not horrible with the Tomb Kings because they do activate their Realm of Souls ability, which they start healing themselves. They can even bring back models, and inevitably, when you hit tier 3 with them, you get a summoning of Ushapti. So that using the Realm of Souls and Poison, it tries to balance out, but it really like take a look at these stats and you tell me the Tomb Guards with Sword and Shield variant only have 9 armor piercing damage, and the Nekahara warriors only have 7, so it's going to be a little bit tough to get through the dwarf. So you may want to try your best to ally with Thoric. There is one scenario that you would definitely want to go to war. So there is a Book of Nagash right next to his starting position. He's going to take that settlement. It's the Lost Plateau, I believe. Lost Plateau. So there are 3 very, very strong books of Nagash. Number one, the 5th book is the most wanted. Like anything army capacity related, you need it, you want it. It's how you play Tomb King. So if the 5th book of Nagash starts in the Lost Plateau, because it's always random, you go for him. You fight him. It's you have to. You build. You try to get your hands on Ushapti, and you get your hands on the Casket of Souls. You do whatever armor piercing you need, but yeah, definitely do not befriend them. Go take that. 7th book, very good again. Research rate helps you get the armies faster. Canoptic Jars also help you get armies faster. And the last one, yes, it's definitely weaker than the top 2, especially the top one. Like the 5th book is in a class of its own. But the heroes are good, and heroes do have the ability to give you 3 Canoptic Jars a turn when you level them up. So if you, I mean, minus the Lich because you're already using 1 capacity there, so that'll, wash itself off for the Lich Priest, but you're still getting 1 Prince and 1 Necrotech, so that is essentially 6 Canoptic Jars per turn, and they are pretty good on the battlefield. So something to consider if before trying to ally with Thoric. So moving on, we're going to talk a little bit about Canoptic Jars. So this is one of the resources that the Tomb King has access to. You get them usually for taking over a settlement. You get 30 for winning battles, missions. Your lords and heroes have a blue line skill that you definitely want to upgrade. Even on Khalida, you want these Canoptic Jars flowing. There's buildings as well. So prioritize Canoptic Jars. So there is a lot you can do with it. Like you can get heroes, you can get weapons, armor, all kinds of fancy stuff. But I highly recommend just saving to 800 and purchasing a new army. And then after that, going into your deity tree, and every time you hit 150, start purchasing these heralds. And what those heralds do is they're like ancillaries that you can throw into a different lord and have them buff certain units. There's one for Shabdi, Scorpions, and so on. And it also, not only does it give you an extra army capacity, but it reduces global and increases the global recruitment capacity, so you can get a really buff army quick. But yeah, the Tomb Kings really thrive on army capacity. The more armies you have, the better you're doing with the Tomb Kings, and the easier it will be to just roll over everything else. So I highly recommend going after the Canoptic Jars early and purchasing these things, and trying to look away from all the other good bells and whistles, the low-hanging fruits. Just look away from them. So speaking of armies, here's a little bit of some army comps you may want to go after in the early game. The Casket of Souls is definitely one. There's a right you get as well. We'll go over the right soon, but it's $5,000. I know it sounds like a lot, but again, your armies are free of upkeep, so it's definitely worth it. And the Casket of Souls is one of the best pieces of artillery. You won't regret it. Tomb Guard, great at keeping your front line fresh and stronger and stronger. And of course, Ushapti for the armor piercing. And then as your buildings start building up, and you unlock your first dynasty, so you can get another lord. Hopefully by then you have a sepulchral stalkers that you can move in. They're really good. The Nicopolis Knights are really good. And then, of course, getting the heroes in, and then your second army, you just give them whatever's available. So they'll probably have a lot of archers and spears, and maybe you can give them some Nekahara warriors on horseback or some chariots. And as the game progresses, you'll get more and more stuff. And here's just a little bit of an overview of what you can do to make a nice, well-balanced armies. Now, moving on to their tech tree or dynasties in the Tomb King case, I'm going to throw up two that I like to get. So I recommend going for the first dynasty to start. So again, when we're doing this, I'm not getting any of the lords. Yeah, some of them have really good, traits that they start with, but I'm saving up for the extra armies. I can live with a normal traded lord and have another army earlier. That's my personal opinion on how I would work the Canoptic Jars. Yes, again, some of you want the fancy lords, go for it, but I highly recommend not doing it, getting a generic lord, and just go for it. So the reason why I go with the first dynasty is at the bottom for 5,000 gold, and again, their armies cost nothing, so you'll have be swimming in the gold. The campaign movement range is amazing. It's really really good. 10% of course. Income from trade tariffs and construction. Just overall, that's really good. So also there, you'll be able to get so pretending that we're not going to use Canoptic Jars anywhere else, but what I showed you on the last slide, you're going to be able to get a Necrotect and a Prince. So then after I finish this, I would then go over to the fifth. You can get any of those, the runic inspections, or the first dynasty plans, any of those if you want to buff up your Nekahara warriors, go for it. But if not, then jump right into the fifth dynasty. The reason why I chose the fifth dynasty for two reasons. It's the other dynasty that doesn't have a Lich Priest under the currency for money. So the reason why I want that is because the Lich Priest, you start with one. So as you can see in the picture, you start with 1 out of 0. So if I'm purchasing a Lich Priest, it does me no good. It's not going to give me an extra Lich Priest unless I had lost my Lich Priest, then I would be able to get another. So I want to have as many heroes as possible, to generate extra Canoptic Jars, and they are good. They're not bad heroes. Here the proclamation of the fifth dynasty is okay, but it's definitely nothing to write home about. Actually, what I liked here is the ancient battle sites. It gives extra ammunition and reload time for the Skull Catapult and Casket of Souls, and those are pieces that I do want to have in each army, especially the Casket of Skulls. So the faster they fire before their army meets your army, the better. So I know that the Lich Priest is the hero you would rely on for extra replenishment. However, I do want to show one commandment that I really like. So if I'm ever in a pinch and I just started invading and I have a whole bunch of, let's say, tomb scorpions, and they're taking their dear sweet time to replenishment, there's a commandment called the worship of Djaf that you can turn on, and that will give you 20% extra replenishment. So you can maybe park that army for 1 or 2 turns, and you'll be ready to go and move forward. So to move on to the different rights. So right off the bat, the Great Incantation of Thoth, you want it. You want it as soon as you have 20 units. I know, there is that benefit of waiting until you're about to get another lord to do this, so that lord pops at rank 4. I don't wait. I want this. This makes Khalida's fighting a lot easier. If you do the math, so let's say you're it's going to take 13 turns to get that, and to get another army, I should say, and another lord. And this, you can hold on to it for 5. You could do it that way, but in the other retrospect, if you're doing it as fast as possible, it means that you can get a Casket of Souls in your secondary army that much quicker because it's on a 15 turn cooldown. So you can do it based on what you want, but I do it as fast as possible. My Lord will get those 3 levels eventually. I'm not stressed about the 3 extra levels. The Great Incantation of Pitra. If you raise or a settlement, you can then do this, throw the Necrotect, and it will become a level 3 settlement after when it's a ruin. The Great Incantation of Kasser is good when you need to be on the defensive, so you don't have an army in place, and or they have a big army coming towards you. You may want to activate this right away and let the big army that's coming into your lands take some attrition damage before you attack. And then, of course, this is an amazing ability, the Great Incantation of Jeheb. Unfortunately, it takes a tier 4 building to get, but as soon as you get this, like, activate it whenever it's up. It really helps you build out the rest of your settlements, and of course Canoptic Jars and even the army ability is really good. It does damage, so yeah, definitely you're going to want to get the Nekahara Citadel so you can do this as well. We have Khalida's skills. So Khalida has some interesting skills. So Asaf, the goddess of magic and vengeance, is helping her with her winds of magic power reserve plus 15% when increasing, ambush success chance plus 15%, and missile strength for sarcophagal stalkers and skeleton archers plus 12%. So that last one's pretty good. The true blessing of Asaf is interesting. So I'll just briefly show you what it looks like in base form. So she starts with this blessing of Asaf. If you look at the third image, that's giving plus 15%. So with the true blessing of Asaf, that goes to 20%. Base missile damage starts at 15. It would go to 20%, and reload would go from plus 15 to plus 25. So what's weird about this is it affects within 35 meters of her, and she is not a ranged legendary lord. She doesn't have range capabilities. She's a melee fighter, so early game you want to park her next to your artillery, so they gain benefits with this. Maybe have hopefully her archers are close by as well, and then later in the game, when she's mounted and you have sarcophagal stalkers, she would go onto the flank or whatever with them, and they would benefit with that with her range. So this one's a little bit of a weird one for her to have, but yeah, still very cool. So moving out into the pure field, This will give minus 25% attrition uh, to her army of all different attrition types, and once you level it up to tier 2, it will give her regeneration. Then there's Libra's Best, which is upgrading the recruitment ranks for skeleton archers and giving skeleton archers plus 25% ammunition faction wide, which is okay. Legion of the Asp's Goddess is actually really good. So it affects her and any armies in the local province. Gives them a wind effect, and it does high armor piercing like damage. So that's really good, and you should aim to get that for sure. Um, Embodiment of a Seth gives melee attack and melee defense +5 for Sacrificial Stalkers and the Necropolis Knights. And then finally, Warrior Queen, which will give 10% physical resistance and frenzy. So those are her unique line. And then some other honorable notes that I want to give is obviously Canoptic Jar Hoarder. At tier 3, she's generating 3 per turn. I think even as a legendary lord, I think all lords and all heroes should get this. Involvement in Elixir. So if you're going to especially if you're going to go for the tier 2 purified and get the regeneration, like this will give you plus 15% fire resistance, so that would cover her fire resistance, her weakness to fire that she starts with for being a Tomb King legendary lord, and then she would just be stuck with the fire weakness for regeneration, or you can skip the regeneration, and then she would no longer be have fire weakness. And Desert Strike. So this is all the way at the end of her yellow tree. So this one I definitely want to highlight because it gives you plus 60% base weapon damage and plus 40 melee. It also causes terror for 23 seconds, so not something to sleep on. That really does help her out in her dueling abilities. Moving on to back to her abilities. So she starts with My Will Be Done, so giving melee defense and melee attack. You see that a little bit more normal for her since she's a melee lord than Blessing of Aseph, but nonetheless, so she's got the best of both worlds depending who's around her. And then she has Venom Wave. This I like to do if she ever gets caught in a fight and you want to move her to the Lord. So you pop the Venom Wave, it explodes, all of their infantry will go flying, and then you can walk her through to the Lord so they can have their duel. And then the Curse, which will happen when she's low HP, it'll start hurting everybody around her for 15 seconds. So that's really nice. And finally, her you she only has one quest item. The quest item you get at rank 12. It will give her some magical attack and armor piercing, which is both very good for her dueling skills, and it also gives her a magic missile, which is pretty strong. So definitely get that. Now for her mounts, I don't recommend putting her on a skeleton chariot. Putting her on a skeleton chariot, she really then isn't a duelist anymore. She becomes anti-infantry, and I tried it for a bit, and I really disliked it. In how the army composition was, I really felt like she needs to be able to fight the lord on the other army, and if the lord on the other army just so happens to be stronger than her, then maybe throw in a prince to help her out. But I really felt like she needs to be a duelist, so I would skip the chariot. Necroserpent, definitely get it. Definitely get it. And yeah, so I wanted to thank everybody for sticking around, and I hope you like this video. I'll definitely be doing another one like this. Maybe the next one will be more in-game instead of in a slide presentation. But yeah, let me know in the comments if you prefer it this way, or if you would like it in game, or if you have anything you'd like to talk to about, any legendary lores you'd like me to cover. And yeah, give me, if you could, if you like the video, give me a like, subscribe to the channel. I'll be having more videos come out, and I wish you all the best. Have a great day. Take care. Bye bye.